Hello and welcome to Mwalimu Kipepeo with me, Jasmine Omboy. This is a brand new month and also the last month of the year for this podcast. Thank you for being great listeners from the very start of this exciting venture. This month, we shall have a little mix of everything, which I guarantee will be worth your time. Our main focus today will be on dealing with past trauma. Is counseling necessary, or will the issues just go away with time? Be sure to listen to the very end to get the answers to these questions. Let's dive right in. Today's episode is in conjunction with Hisia Psychology Consultants. We shall do it a bit differently, but I hope you'll be able to follow keenly so that you can get every aspect of it. It's not going to be in our usual interview format, but rather a talk on dealing with past or unresolved trauma. Sakina will take us through the episode, and I hope that you will find something useful to take home. Enjoy.
Hi there, my name is Sakina Kalyan, and I'm a clinical psychologist with Hisia Psychology Consultants. Today, I would like to tell you about unresolved trauma. Unresolved trauma is usually a disruptive emotional response due to having a terrible event or experience. Whether your trauma occurred in your childhood or your adulthood, it changes your experience of yourself and your world. If you were young when your trauma occurred, you will likely have more scars because you are more vulnerable and had fewer coping skills during that time. A bad phase of someone's life might get over, but sometimes certain incidents leave a permanent scar on a person's mind. That person doesn't just live with the trauma, but they undergo changes both physically and mentally. Unresolved trauma can result into extraordinary stress, which can create lots of problems for the person who is dealing with it. Our human instinct is to protect ourselves from all the effects of this trauma. And we do this by finding ways to cut ourselves off through denying that we have been hurt, disassociating ourselves from the painful event, or even repressing the memory of the trauma. Therefore, unresolved trauma can lead on to psychological symptoms such as anger, irritability, and mood swings. Also, having anxiety and fear also leads on to guilt and shame. And all of this results towards social withdrawal. You tend to separate yourselves from your friends, from your families, from society. You are constantly feeling sad and hopeless about yourselves, and this leads on to feelings of numbness. As well as psychological symptoms, there are also physical symptoms, such as insomnia and nightmares. A person is unable to sleep because they are having flashbacks or nightmares about their trauma. Another symptom is being startled easily. The person gets scared by sounds around them, by sudden thunderstorms. Additionally, the person has a racing heartbeat. They constantly feel edgy or restless, and this also can be portrayed within muscle tension, where they constantly feel numb in their muscles. But one may ask, how exactly do I know if my unresolved trauma from my past is affecting my present and my future? Well, the good thing is, I'm here to give you some signs. One of them is having trouble functioning at home, at work, or at school. If you are a teenager and you experienced some sort of trauma as a child, such as neglect from your caregivers, physical or psychological abuse from your caregivers, and some of these signs can portray within your teenage years. This is where you can't go to school. You're afraid to go to school. You can't keep up with your schoolwork. Your grades are dropping. If you are an adult who is working, or you're a homemaker who is taking care of the house, and suddenly you're noticing, I can't keep up with my responsibilities. I can't give in my submissions on the deadlines. This could be a sign that your unresolved trauma is affecting your present and your future. Another warning sign is that you are unable to form close and trusting relationships. You're unable to form connections with other people. Additionally, you can also be experiencing terrifying nightmares or flashbacks or just having trouble with sleep. You're unable to fall asleep or you're unable to maintain your sleep. Because of this, and because of remembering the trauma, you end up avoiding anything that reminds you of the trauma. This could be a place, so you would avoid going to maybe your family home because it reminds you of your trauma. Just as the memories of your traumatic event or experience are reoccurring through your nightmares and flashbacks, you end up feeling emotionally numb and disconnected from others. If your traumatic experience occurred in the proximity of your family members or your close friends, you would want to avoid them because it's bringing some sort of numbness emotions for you. That's why you want to separate yourself or withdraw yourself from them. However, the biggest warning sign that your unresolved trauma is affecting your present and your future is that you are having signs of anxiety. You have signs of having a panic attack, such as a racing heartbeat, such as having the fear that the worst is going to happen, having the fear that you're going to die, or more importantly, having sweaty hands or hot and cold flashes. All these could be signs of anxiety. Additionally, you could also experience mood swings, which could be linked to depression, such as where at one point you want to isolate yourself from the entire world and sleeping under that quilt in your bed, hiding away from everyone sounds so much more better than going outside and facing the world. Living with unresolved trauma can result towards so many unhealthy coping mechanisms, such as living a life with dependency on alcohol or substances. Therefore, unresolved trauma affects all the dynamics of your life, not only your school life, but it also affects your relationship. When your emotional health has been compromised, you have that feeling that you need to soldier on through life, sucking it up without resolving the trauma that has occurred. This will mean that the wounds continue to grow faster, and how you primarily see yourself will influence how you see yourself within your relationship and within your significant others. Unresolved trauma means that you're constantly in the same proximity of your triggers. However, you don't know they are your triggers. For example, if you had parents who were emotionally distant or physically absent when you were a child and you felt abandoned, when your spouse comes home late from work, you may feel powerless and rejected. This influences your relationship and how you're able to maintain that emotional as well as physical connection with your partner, or it could also be your friends. So one may ask, how exactly do I start healing from my unresolved trauma? The first step is you need to acknowledge and recognize the trauma for what it is. Victims of childhood trauma often spend years minimizing the event by pretending it didn't happen or by succumbing to the feelings of guilt or self-blame. The only way you can begin healing is to acknowledge that the traumatic event did occur and that you are not responsible for it. Once you're able to acknowledge what your trauma is, you will be able to learn the true meaning of acceptance and letting go. Just because you accept something doesn't mean you are embracing your trauma, or that you like it, or that you agree with it. Acceptance means you have decided what you're going to do with it. You can decide to let it rule your life, or you can decide to let it go. Letting go doesn't mean poof, it's all magically gone. Letting go means you are no longer allowing your bad memories and feelings of a bad event to rob yourself from living a good life now. And remember, be patient with yourself. Just as you get a physical injury, you're patient with yourself, you cater for your wound so that it can heal. The same way, you need to be patient with yourself for your emotional wound to heal. However, the biggest healing mechanism or coping skill is to talk with someone, seek support. Do not isolate yourself. A natural instinct for many trauma survivors is to withdraw from others, but this will only worsen your symptoms. So come to Hisia Psychology Consultants, and you will get a trained, registered psychologist help you walk through the path of healing. We will help you identify your triggers. We will help you identify the coping mechanisms on how you can tackle with these triggers. And then overall, you will be able to love yourself 100 times more and see yourself with true essence and meaning and worth. And eventually, your past will no longer control your present or your future, because you will learn the skills on how you can take control of your future by controlling your past trauma. And you will be able to heal from your unresolved trauma with a trained psychologist at Hisia Psychology Consultants.
In the year 1605, November 5th, the British government enforced a public holiday of celebrating a failure to overthrow the government by a man known as Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes Day is an annual celebration in the United Kingdom. In 1605, Guy Fawkes and his friends had a plan to blow up Parliament and kill King James I and his family. Their plot was later discovered and they were executed for treason. So why did they want to commit these crimes? Guy Fawkes was part of a group who felt that the government was treating Roman Catholics unfairly. They hoped that King James would change the laws, but he didn't. Catholics had to practice their religion in secret, so the idea here was to destroy the English ruling class in one blow and re-establish Catholic supremacy in England. This is famously known as the Gunpowder Plot. So Guy Fawkes Day is celebrated by lighting fireworks and bonfires, which effigies of Guy Fawkes are tossed into. Now you know. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Mwalimu Kipepeo. Please like our Facebook page for brand new episodes every week. Remember to like and share this episode with everyone you know. I'm Jasmine Ombwe. Let's meet next week for another learning experience. Ciao!